And we are officially live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Friday weekly live stream with Payment Evolution. My name is Leaf, the marketing specialist here at Payment Evolution. I have with me Juliana.
Juliana, head of marketing at Payment Evolution, and happy Friday to everyone.
Yeah, happy Friday. And then the weekend's coming up. Any plans?
I'm planning to do a lot of copywriting, just work stuff. You know me, I'm all about the work.
Nice. And copywriting is super fun. I enjoy copywriting myself, so
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
Yeah,
Well,
it's funny. It's like the shorter the space that you have to work with, the more time it takes because you need it to be just right, you know.
oh,
So I don't know.
honestly,
It's
yeah.
interesting. I also always joke around. I'm pretty sure I stole this from somebody, but I joke around that Shakespeare would edit his plays if he had a chance. So, you know, sometimes you just gotta ship.
Shakespeare would edit his plays if he had a chance.
Yeah, yeah. Even Shakespeare would edit his plays. You know, like he would be like, "I hate that line," you know.
Oh,
So
okay. Huh.
it's good to
Interesting.
good to remember that when we're feeling precious about something.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like an awesome weekend ahead of you though, so that's good. And plus, it's pretty snowy here, so I mean, you can't really go outside much, so might as well just
Yeah, it's
be inside,
true.
right?
That's true. How about you? Any plans?
No plans in particular. My brother's gonna come over, so that's nice. He moved out as well, so we're all gonna
Nice.
meet together as family, so spend some time together. So that should be pretty good.
Look at you guys all growing up. I can't imagine the day when my kids are out. It'll be crazy.
It's probably a whole new experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, in today's live stream, our topic is how to deal with an irate customer or maybe an upset customer. And I guess our goal with this, not podcast, this live stream is to kind of go over how to navigate a conversation around irate customers or maybe our personal experience around how we've gone about it. But yeah, so just to start off, do you have any stories in mind when I say irate customers?
You know, I actually have I have a kind of a flip story where I don't know if I've told you this story before, like you personally, but there was a time where I was cold called about some marketing services, and I wasn't interested. I wasn't in the market, but the sales guy was awesome, and he and I really hit it off, and we talked over a few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, and we came to an agreement. I said, you know what, I'll give it a shot. Let's do it. And the day that it was time for us to sign, he was not himself at all. And this guy who I just kind of hit it off with was short with me, cold. He said things like, I thought you were supposed to sign it already, you know? And it was just kind of, yeah, cold. And so, anyways, I asked
Right.
myself, you know, he's the reason why I'm buying this. Is this enough of a reason for me to not? Like, should I get mad at him? Do I snap back at him and say, why are you snapping at me? Why are you treating me that way? You know, I don't have to sign this at all. But instead, I said, you know what? I've been talking to him for weeks. He's been really helpful. I signed. And then I said, I want to stay on the line for a second. And I want to give you some feedback because if this was the guy I met on day one, I wouldn't be buying anything from you. And he apologized and explained to me that he had just been to court that morning for custody of his child. And
Ooh.
and it just blew my mind that I could have made all kinds of assumptions about the guy. I could have easily been like, wow, I guess he really only cares about the sale. As soon as the sale is like done or close to done, he turns it off. Like he turns off his good personality, or he's frustrated with me because I was so picky about what I was buying. And like I could have come up with so many opinions about him. But the truth is, he was having a bad day. And so that was a bit of a flip situation where I was the customer, but I think it's a real eye-opening example for me about how there's a backstory. And people are not usually mean on purpose. People are
Right.
hurt or frustrated, and it's authentic and it's real, and it deserves the respect. It deserves the time and
Right.
space to be expressed, and then like we can all just be human, work through the issues, and come back to basics together and have a relationship again. Hmm.
Right. Wow. I can't believe that custody of a
Hmm.
child in the end of it. I would never
Yeah.
have guessed, right? I thought
No, like
bad
of
day, but that's a
course.
rough day.
Yeah, that's a terrible day. Yeah, like that might be one of the worst days of his life, you know? So yeah, and I could never have guessed. So it really does put things into perspective.
Did you end up being friends with him afterwards? Like, did you end up getting him
He ended
back in that
up
vibe?
his company really disappointed me when it came to I hired them for Google Ads, and we did sort of a competition. We started I started an account, they started an account at the same time, and we raced to see who could outperform the other one over 3 months. And I didn't end up continuing with them, but he ended up becoming a coaching client of mine. He wanted to like, it was funny, I never told him I was a coach. He said, you know, I wish I could find a sales coach like you. And I was like, well, so it's just amazing when you're human what happens. You know, if you treat people with respect and care, you're in a completely different scenario. So yeah, it really good stuff. I think it was a good scenario, good experience for me, and a lot of respect for that young man.
100%. So I guess this perfectly leads on to our topic, but so I guess let's just start off with the question of, like, you know, if you are running a business, right? You're a small business owner. By the way, I can hear someone in the background.
I'm sorry, I can mute when I'm not talking, because you know how it is. It's COVID and everyone's working from home. But I'll mute while you talk.
Cool, that sounds good. But yeah, I guess just leading into it, the first question I would ask is, like, you know, if you're running a small business and you are having a rough day where you maybe went into a child custody issue in the morning and you deal with customers, how does one not let their emotions dictate how they're going to interact with their customers, no matter how much of a rough day they're having? Any thoughts around that?
Yeah, I think that this is a big picture issue. It's something about, you know, it's about emotional intelligence and having self-awareness so that you can manage yourself. I think the first thing is compartmentalizing. If you can, like, it's hard today to compartmentalize, because when we are at work, some of us are at home. I'm at home right now at work. And so it makes it hard sometimes to walk away from my desk. But I need to compartmentalize in order to say, now is work time, now is not work time. And I think you need to do that when it comes to dealing with personal issues at work too. You know, right now I'm not dealing with any personal issues. I'm just working. I'm just a girl at work. That's it.
Right.
And then afterwards, I can think about, you know, when I'm not working anymore, I'm not dealing with the customer. That's when I can think about the other stuff. So now I'm a mom and I'm dealing with XYZ, whatever. So compartmentalizing is really huge. The other thing is, you know, it's funny, I get a lot of, I don't mean to say, I'm not saying this in like a conceited way. Probably the most number of compliments I've ever gotten in my life were related to, you're such a good listener. And there's something really powerful about, like, if you're not good at compartmentalizing, if your mind is kind of all over the place and you're distracted and stressed, that's my son.
Everyone's working from home.
I have a quick question to ask you.
I'm live right now. Okay, come ask the public. What's your question very quickly?
Do you have any photos of me and baby Teddy? And if you do, can you please quickly send them to Gabby?
I can't do that quickly, but I will send them to you later.
To Gabby.
Okay, sounds great. So
thank you.
So the internet can now know that my son had a teddy bear that was given to him by my sister, and he carried it with him for like, I don't know, like 7 years, 8 years maybe. And then one day, we don't know where it went.
Oh no.
So I think he wants to tell his friend about it. But anyway, so yeah, the other part is, if you're not great at managing stress, you're not great at compartmentalizing. One thing that is kind of a bit of a magic bullet is listen. Stop thinking about anything and just think about listening to that person. I love this line, like you've never listened before. And when you're listening, when you're truly listening to somebody, you will be engaged. You will pick up their emotions and be able to mirror them and be at their level, as opposed to being stuck in your own emotions. If you are stressed and angry when you're in a very professional meeting, and your stress and anger is coming out, you're not really present. You're not really in that meeting. And so I actually think if you're dealing with a difficult customer, an irate client, you know, the risk of losing this customer, all of that, I actually think it's easier to be present in that moment because that person is, their energy is higher. And so I think it's actually maybe a good distraction. So just be present, listen, listen, listen. And you can't go wrong. If you are listening and you're doing that as your first priority, you cannot go wrong.
Right. Yeah, I can tell you that sometimes I've spoken with like a customer service rep and they're just talking all the time. They just keep talking and don't let me like say anything. It's almost like they're too worried about what they're gonna say next rather than really listening to what I'm saying currently.
For sure. And I think that it's interesting for anybody who knows me. It's interesting to hear me say that listening is the key here because I am a big personality. I talk a lot, right? So for anybody to say to me, wow, I really felt like you heard me. I really felt like you understood me. Wow, you really listened. Thanks for that. That was a gift. Like to get those kinds of compliments across the board from so many different people, from so many different walks of life, it just goes to show how it's not about how much you talk. It's about when you listen, do you truly listen?
Right. So powerful. So powerful. Okay, great. So you're a small business owner and whatnot. And let's say, you're dealing with a client and how about the client is having a bad day and, they're coming to you and they may be nitpicking about the smallest little things, but it's very clear that they're really upset, but it's not necessarily your fault that they're upset. How do you, as the operator of a business or whatever you're doing, how do you manage that situation? Like, let's talk about maybe like the first part, like when they come to you and you can see they're clearly upset and they maybe go on a rant. What's the first part? What's the first thing that you think we should do?
So energetically and in terms of physiology, when someone postures, you feel the natural instinct to do the same thing. If someone yells at you, and I'm sure we can all relate to this, if you are even telling them, please don't yell at me, we often yell that back, right? Like, don't yell at me, right? So if we want to de-escalate things, what we need to do first and foremost is let them get it out. Don't match that energy. Don't speak at the same pace as them and with the same vigor. Instead, just, okay, so I hear you. So let me get it straight. You've got this. Is there more? What else is going on? Is that the only issue today? Okay, now I want to make sure that I understand the issue. Just, you're giving them the opportunity to get all of it out.
Right.
And by doing that, they'll calm down. And what you'll find is people will often say, like, as they calm down, they'll say, I'm sorry for the way that I approached this call. I'm just really upset. And they start to become more human. I think a really interesting example is my sister, actually. She works for a company, I don't know the name of the company. She works for a company that sells pet insurance. And so she provides pet insurance. I don't know exactly how it works, but and I don't know exactly what her job is, to be honest, but I do know that she sometimes talks to people when their dog has just been hit by a car, or the cat is lost, and these people are very hurt and sad and vulnerable. And in that moment, especially if you're a pet lover, which my sister is, she has so much compassion. And she does well at her job as a result of that, because the person feels heard. The interesting thing is that same thing applies under any other circumstance. The difference is she could have compassion naturally because it's not her who's being blamed, right? So if you can shake off the blame, then you can have compassion. And when you have compassion, then it's easy to forgive somebody. It's easy to let them get it out. It's easy to shake it off and not let it bother you. So just think about the fact that this person is deeply, genuinely hurt. Like if you're an animal lover, think, maybe they just lost their pet. And suddenly it's like, yeah, yell at me. Go ahead. It's okay. you know? Compassion is a very, very powerful shifter. It shifts our energy to a completely different place where someone's mean attitude or words don't penetrate. They don't actually hurt you. So,
Exactly.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I would add a couple things to that too. I think when you first see someone and they're very visibly upset, what I like to do is like remind myself, hey, they're not mad at me. They're just mad at a situation or something external, and I'm just kind of like the conduit that they're kind of directing it towards. But a big thing I've also noticed, not even just like in my past Tim Hortons jobs or just through some side hustles and everything, dealing with upset people, is that labeling the feeling. So a customer might come up to me or something. Let's say their name is Greg, and they're really upset. And something I might want to say is, "Hey, Greg, you're very important to me, and I really value our relationship. But it seems like you're really upset, Greg. Is everything okay?"
Yeah.
And it's just like that sense of validation.
Yeah.
Just like, whew, lower their
yeah. Yeah, I want to help you with your coffee order, but let's just stop for a second. Are you okay? Like, yeah, that human element, brilliant. I love it. I'm really glad that you shared that. I think it's also like the care there, the fact that you cared for the person is a really important piece. It also matters if you care about what you're selling or supporting. You know, if you're dealing with an upset customer and you couldn't care less about the product, then it's going to be hard for you to care, right? If you don't care about the company you work for. I'm a huge advocate. If you don't love your job, leave and find something better. Find something you love. I believe that with everything in my soul. And I know that a lot of frugal people will tell me I'm nuts. I've done this before where I've just said, you know what, this is not for me. I've left and found something that feeds my soul. And I bring all of myself to work. And so I think it's easy for me to care. My sister who loves animals, supporting pet owners, it's easy for her to care. So, and you appreciate people, you're good with people. It's easy for you to care. If it's hard for you to care, you might want to take a look at what you're doing and if there's a better fit for you somewhere.
Right, you have to care about. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of a time where I was shadowing a phone call center rep at TD Bank. Oh, I said the name up. But essentially, I was shadowing them, and they were dealing with a customer who was really upset, and I could hear everything, and they were getting yelled at over the phone, and everything. I can hear everything. I was just watching to see like, what is she gonna do? And it was a situation where she couldn't technically help him because of some next level problems that are happening that are outside of her control and outside of the company's control. And I noticed she said, "Hey, I can't help you. I'm sorry. I just can't help you. I can't help you." And I'm thinking to myself, in that situation, yes, the guy is asking for help, but he's not really asking for help. He just feels stuck and needs someone to empathize with, not necessarily look for a solution. So instead of saying, "I can't help you, sir, I can't help you," maybe, if I were them, I probably would have said, "Hey, based on your situation over here, it seems like you're really in a tough spot. I want to make sure I work with you so we can move. Like, I want to be there for you essentially, and I don't want to make you feel like we're just jumping off the call and now you're on your own. What are some solutions that you're thinking about right now? Maybe I can help you walk you through it or something." Like
totally. And I think reframing the way you say no is really powerful too, because you don't necessarily have to say, "I can't help you." You could say, let's talk about what the problem is, because the solution that you're asking for is not something that I'm able to deliver, but let's figure out what the problem truly is so that I can come up with a solution or I can direct you in the right way. It's so important to understand the problem, but the more frustrated we get, the less we want to talk about the basics. It's it's irritating if you're very frustrated and someone says to you, "Okay, so time out. When did it start?" And you're like, "Just listen to what I'm saying. I just want you to know, just what I'm telling you." But again, if you let people kind of get that out of their system and then follow up with I'm glad that you thought about this creatively and you came to me with an ask, a specific solution you want me to implement for you. That's not something I'm able to do. I don't think it is even doable, but let me understand the problem a little bit more, because I do want to solve your problem. So,
exactly.
let's just step back a little bit. And, expression is an interesting thing. Energy needs expression. It's constantly being transferred, right? Like that's what happens when you put a pot on your stove and boil water. Heat is being transferred. Energy is transferred. People need to express those emotions. The more we are upset, maybe the longer the session needs to be before we can get to, the substance of how we can actually fix it. But if we think about it that way, get that part out. Instead of fighting, I don't want you to express this part. I want you to express this. I want you to express what I say you should express, right? As long as we are respectful and give that space and time for someone's expression, then I think we can get to the root cause. Then we can ask them to express details that we want to know, because we've already given them the floor.
Exactly. So let's say you're in a situation where it is your fault, you did mess up, and now they're upset. Do you have like a framework or a process you go through when dealing with customers who are like that?
I'm trying to think of a situation, because sure, like I think we all mess up, we make mistakes all the time, but I'm trying to think of a situation that I have personal experience with where I did something very wrong. I think that would be more interesting. I can't really think of anything where I did anything really, really wrong.
I guess I can share a quick story, but
yeah, that'd be great.
I used to do like a resume writing services, and I submitted a resume to a client I had, and they said it was good and everything. Cool, it's complete, done, great. I got the money and everything. It's all good. And then a couple of weeks later, he messaged me on Instagram saying, "Hey, can I just go on a quick call with you?" And I was like, "Sure. Is everything okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I just need to get something off my chest." I'm like, "Whoa, like, what's about to happen?"
Yeah.
So I go on a call with him, and he's like, "Yeah, how are you? Good, Leaf. Good. It's been a while. Yeah. How's your job hunt? Oh, it's good." And he's like, "Hey, I just need to tell you something, Leaf." I'm like, "Okay, what?" He's like, "I'm really not happy with the resume you wrote to me. For example." And then, he sent me the resume on email, and I was looking at the resume, and he's like, "You made this mistake, this mistake, this mistake, this mistake." And now that I looked at it, I was like, I did make a mistake, and it was completely 100% my fault.
Yes.
So, in that situation, I could have been like, "Well, sorry, this is what it is. It's your fault and everything." But I guess what I at least try to do was say thank you. Like, "Oh my God, I messed up. This is definitely my fault." Take ownership and apologize, and even like offered a refund and everything. He was a great guy at the end of it, so he was just like, "Hey, just want to let you know, okay? But just be mindful next time."
Yeah, that's a really great example. Outside, I did think of one as you were talking. Outside of sort of my office life, my family owns a beauty salon, and for many years I did aesthetics services there. And I had one woman come in one day to have her eyebrows done, and maybe you can tell I take pride in my eyebrows. I really take my time. Everybody, like, people would come from wherever they moved to, they would drive in to get their eyebrows done because I was meticulous about it and took a lot of care and did them well. And this one woman, I thought her eyebrows looked great. And she looked in the mirror and said, "What have you done to my eyebrows?" And I'm like, I didn't actually change them that much. I just cleaned them up. Like, I cleaned up the shape, and I cleaned, it's just a very clean to your original shape. And literally, I've never had a client like that in my life. We had to go hair by hair with the tweezers, and she told me which ones she wanted removed. And even at the end, she was like, "I don't know, I guess it's fine." And she left, and she paid, and she tipped me. And then the strange thing was that she came back. It's so strange. It's like, I have to say, yeah, she came back multiple. Yeah, she came back multiple. She became a regular client. And so I think sometimes, like, I was frustrated, but it was more that I felt bad. I didn't want somebody to walk away not liking the way their face looked because of something I did. And so I was just like, I was willing to go hair by hair with the tweezers and have her tell me what to do. And, I think at the end of the day, she came back because I showed the care, not because I was perfect, or I could read her mind or anything like that. So there's again, we go back to being human. Just
Yeah,
treating each other kindly. Yeah.
that's crazy. I can't imagine like doing strand by strand an eyebrow. Like over here, you could pluck this, pluck that, pluck this. That just
Yeah.
seems so intense.
One day I should do not on the Payvo live stream, but maybe on my own personal live stream. I should do an episode on confessions of an esthetician because oh man, the it's an interesting world.
No, I can imagine because I remember one day getting a haircut, and I was getting a good haircut, right? But the guy beside me, he was getting what it looked like a sick haircut, and I was like, oh, it's pretty tight. But then I look at his face, and he's like
Oh
he was not
no,
enjoying the haircut,
yeah,
and then I felt bad for the barber because he kept complaining to the barber, no, do it like this. Why aren't you gonna do this and this? And like the barber's like, hey man, like, do you like this haircut or not? Like, we can
yeah.
change it. And he's like, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be okay. And I'm like, man, if I was the barber, I'd feel so bad at that moment. Like, just bad haircut.
Totally. Early in my, like when I first started working in my parents' business, like people's hair, their makeup, their body, like this is so personal. This is the way
Yeah.
that they present themselves. So if somebody didn't like a haircut or they wanted this was in the 80s. So like if they wanted their perm curls to be tighter or whatever, anytime there was like, oh, could you actually do this or whatever, I would get this sick feeling in my stomach, like, oh no, they're unhappy. Oh no, what have we
Right.
done? Um,
Right.
and it was really, really good experience for me early in my life to realize that it's okay that people have opinions, that they might say, oh, I don't like it, and I don't know, sometimes you do it again if that's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it just comes down to treating each other well. And it's not that you've done a bad job. It's not that you failed them. And if you did do something wrong, own it, apologize, fix it the best way you possibly can. Yeah, and be conscientious. I remember this is a very different kind of situation, but I remember one woman came in for a perm, and my mom was going to do it, and she was just kind of looking at the woman's hair, and she said, you know what, before we do a perm, I just want to test your hair because there's just something about it that doesn't seem the way I want it to. It doesn't look and feel the way I expect it to. So she consented to giving a little sample. They cut a little piece and they put it in with the perm chemicals, and the hair disintegrated and went up in smoke. And it turned out she had been putting something in her hair to color it or something, and she was sitting in the sun and letting it dry and not washing the stuff out till the next time she washed her hair. And she was doing this all the time. This was kind of, I don't know. Anyways, imagine if as a hairdresser, whatever service you provide, imagine if you see red flags and you don't do anything about it because you don't care, or you know what, it's just easier to do the job. Imagine the irate customer you end up with because of the result. And
Right.
that woman's hair could have been ruined. It could have, like, she could have lost lots of her hair. And there was no sale made, but at the end of the day, that woman discovered that it was not safe to put that product in her hair and leave it in there and sit in the sun, and grew that all out and didn't walk away from that appointment that day irate, and for good reason, right?
Wow.
But yeah, I think sometimes that whole irate piece, we need to ask ourselves as service providers, how did I contribute to this situation? Did I contribute to this situation? And you could have 99% of your customers perfectly happy with something, but one of them misunderstands some language in your software, or the price for coffee on the price menu, and it's so important that you say to yourself, okay, how can I make it clearer? How can I make it better? How do I protect that 1%, that person? Because all you're doing at that point is making your product even better, right?
Exactly.
But it's so easy to say, it's not my fault, everyone else is okay with it. It's so easy to do that. That's the instinct, to be defensive.
Right.
Um,
Okay. Yeah.
but that feedback, like you said earlier about that guy who wrote you back or called you about the resume, that's golden. To get real feedback, that's gold. And
100%, yeah.
yeah, like, you know, big companies hire management consulting companies for millions of dollars to find incremental little improvements that we could find for ourselves if we listen to the people using our products and services.
Exactly. Everything just kind of boils down to caring and empathy, like those two words. Just
Yeah.
care about your product, care about customers, and just be empathetic, and you'll do good
Yeah.
in life in general.
Yeah, so I do want to quickly capture the other side of this, because as I've been doing more live streams, I've been getting more feedback about my personality. Even though I haven't asked for it, I've been getting more feedback, and it's interesting. And I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, you're such a bleeding heart, and you're too like differential, and you just accept everybody." Differential, like, you know, if you told me something that you believe, and differential would mean I say, oh, okay, well, I guess that's the truth. That's not quite how I see myself, but I will hear someone. And if I disagree with you, that's okay. I don't even need to tell you I disagree with you unless that's the conversation, the topic. But if you tell me something like, you know, I believe in this political party, and that was just kind of a tangent, I'm not going to go down the path of, oh, you do, you know, I'm not going to be like, you're a Trump supporter. That's not what we're talking about today. So I want to just recognize, is there a different way to handle the difficult customer? And I think about this one marketing agency I had an experience with. We worked very, very hard to get them a huge customer, and we did, and we delivered, and the customer was happy, extremely happy. But the customer was high maintenance, like redefinition, like completely redefining high maintenance. And years later, when I crossed paths with one of the owners of this firm, I was like, "Oh, are you still working with that customer?" And he said, "Oh, no, we fired them." And he's like, "You know, now we only work with this type of customer, and we're not just looking for size and products that were, you know, their niche. We're also looking for cultural fit." And so, you know, there's something to be said about, you don't have to just be empathetic. Sometimes you can say, that's not for me. And, you know, not work with that client again, not sign another contract, or outright say, I don't think that we can meet your standards. So I'm just going to call it. Is someone going to like hearing that? No. But you do have options. You have options to be empathetic, to be kind, to be proud of the way you handle it, anything and everything that comes at you, as if you were on a live stream and the world was watching you deal with that customer service situation. But you also have the choice to say, you know, I'm going to rectify this to the best of my ability, or I'm going to give you back your money or whatever, and I don't think we should work together again. So
Right.
it is okay to say no. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Just working in different digital marketing agencies, there'd always be situations where like a client was just high maintenance. They kept checking up on everything, and it was just exhausting to just manage with. It's not worth the time put into it versus the value that you receive in the end.
Yeah, totally. And it's funny because there are some things that people are very, very precious about. And one thing people are precious about is marketing, language, visuals, colors. And so, you know, you might be a customer that is like, when you bring your car to the mechanic, you're so easygoing. Yeah, it's fixed. Okay, cool. Whatever. I trust you. No, I don't need you to show it to me. Whatever. But then, you know, someone writes you an email invitation for a virtual event, and it takes 6 weeks to get your approval. You know, it just really depends what is precious to you. And anybody can be high maintenance.
Right. It's just a matter of finding the right fit. Cool. Awesome. I think we covered a lot in this last video. Anything else you'd like to add, or?
I think we talked about liking what you do. And I just can't help but think about at Payment Evolution, our customer success director or head of customer success. She talks about like loving those difficult calls. And there are a couple of people on the team that are like, oh my gosh, those really irate customers, I love fixing those problems. I love taking those calls. And I think that comes down to looking at the work as a challenge, loving what they do, and respecting people. So I think it's like the trifecta. So yeah, definitely love what you do, and see it as a challenge when it does come up as difficult. So a little lesson
She's
from
perfect for that role, and that's her. It's meant to be, you know.
yeah. So
Customer
kudos
service.
to Andrea Morgan, and thank you for that little lesson.
Kudos to you, Andrea. Awesome, great. Well, I guess we'll just end the live stream here. But where can people find you, Juliana?
Yeah, check it out online. My name is Juliana, but the handle on the screen JTCINA, JT China. You can Google that, and you can find my website. You can find me on Twitter, on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I'm running out of
Every
options
social
there.
media,
You can find
everywhere. Clubhouse
find
and
me.
X, TikTok.
Yeah, and message me, please. I love having conversations with new people. I've had some interesting ones recently, so hoping to bring some new guests to the live stream world. Good stuff.
Amazing, cool. And again, for everyone watching the recording, we'll be back next week, 2:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our weekly live stream. So be sure to follow us at PayEvo on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever you're following us on social media. And I guess we will see you next week. So thanks again, Juliana.
Thank you, Elif. Thanks for hosting. Bye.